Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Sabrina here. Today's video is going to be one that I am so excited to share with y'all. It's going to be how I got my 10-week-old to sleep through the night. So my baby is now 6 months old. She's currently sleeping like 12 to 13 hours through the night. We put her to bed around 9 and she sleeps until 10:30. I just wanted to share my tips on how I got her to sleep at about 2.5 months old. I know that for a lot of people this can be a very touchy subject because I remember watching videos on people how they got their 6-week-old to sleep through the night, 8-week-old, and I was just so exhausted and discouraged because my baby was not sleeping consistently through the night. So today's video, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I did and some things I think can help your baby sleep more through the night, but just please keep in mind, if your baby's not sleeping through the night or if it's taking longer than you expected, do not be hard on yourself, do not be hard on your child. Every kid is so different. And what I think is really important to emphasize is that sleep is so needed for a parent, but you just have to be patient with the process. So for me, the reason I really was trying to get her to sleep longer stretches at night is because I was so mentally done. My husband went to work, so throughout the night, I was the one up breastfeeding her. I was not able to nap during the day. My body just would not let me. I struggle with insomnia. I was like hating life when I wasn't sleeping well. So as soon as I could, I tried to start getting her to sleep through the night. It's up to you when you want to start this. I started this around when she was 8 weeks old and she consistently started sleeping through the night starting at 10 weeks. And then by the time she was 12 weeks old, like 3 months old, she really started to sleep more consistently. But it's up to you when you want to start this, but just know that obviously a 4-week-old is going to need to wake up more frequently through the night, and newborns just generally will because their stomach are smaller and they just can't hold as much milk. They need to eat more often. But around 10 weeks, I would say this would be a good time to start some of these tips and just see how long it takes your child to get adjusted to them. The first tip is to move them away from your bed. I used to sleep here and her bassinet was right next to my bed. That way, if I got up to feed her, she would just be so easy to take up and put down. But basically what I did was first thing I did was switch places with my husband. So he started sleeping next to her and I slept on the other side of him. I don't know what it is. Just maybe she could just hear me or smell me or something, because when I was sleeping next to her, she was all so noisy throughout the night, making so many noises, shuffling around more, waking up more. And then when my husband and I switched sides of the bed, I noticed a change. So obviously throughout the night, I would still get up and move to the other side of the bed, pick her up and go feed her. Also, this helped me not fall asleep while nursing. I struggled so much with getting up to nurse because I was so tired. So actually having to stand up, grab her and sit in the rocking chair was a lot better than just picking her up and feeding her in my bed because I could not stay awake if I just did that. My tip is to move them across the room from you, or in a closet if you have a walk-in closet, or even in the hallway. So where my baby is currently, she sleeps in our closet, and we have a nice big walk-in closet so she fits very comfortably in there. We keep the door open so that way she gets airflow and light in there. But it just tremendously changed the game. When I moved her out into that closet, she started sleeping so much better. I started sleeping better because I couldn't hear her as clearly. And of course, if she was crying, we can still hear her. She's close enough for that, but she's not like right next to our bed. Something about putting your child right next to you, they know you're there and they're gonna want you. Just move your bassinet to the farthest place from you in the room. If you have a walk-in closet, use that. If you don't have that space, just try even moving them into the hallway if possible for the night. I'm telling you, it will help. Second tip is to have a consistent bedtime routine. This is something my pediatrician actually recommended. Your baby will get the memo that like, oh, okay, this means that it's gonna get dark in the house, it's gonna get really quiet, and it's gonna be bedtime. So obviously they probably will struggle to realize the difference for a little bit, but for the most part, babies do quickly learn and catch on to things. So what we did for our nighttime routine is we turned down the lights, we turned on our fan. We have a fan here in the room. It's kind of like our white noise machine, but really I just liked it because it circulated air better. But we turned on the fan, we gave her a bath, and we didn't soap her up every time because you don't want to dry out a newborn skin, but we just put her in a warm bath and let her feel the water, and she loved the warmth. The third tip is to feed them well throughout the evening and especially right before they go to sleep. Like, I would feed her a lot more frequently whether she wanted to or not. Like normally I would wait a little bit until she really got hungry to feed her, but I started just putting her to my breast and just seeing would she want some, and she typically would. So we cluster fed her a lot more in the evening so that her belly would be more full, and then right before bed we made sure she had a really good feeding. And this also helped her kind of just last longer throughout the night, especially that first stretch, just to really sleep deeper and just not wake up because she was so hungry. Tip number 4 is to put them to bed drowsy, but not fully asleep. This way, your baby can learn to fall asleep on their own. What we did was we would kind of just sway her to get her to be drowsy and then lay her down on the bassinet when she was not fully asleep. She was still awake and she was still like kind of moving around a little bit, maybe even had her eyes open, but we would make sure she was very tired when we did that. We wouldn't put her in there fully awake. And what we did was we let her shift around and kind of figure out how to self-soothe or put herself to sleep. We had a pacifier in the beginning and then she completely stopped taking that after I think like 3 months old. But we tried that in the beginning. We like put the pacifier in. It kind of helped her, but not all babies will take that. So you don't need a pacifier to do this. Even at night, like if she would wake up crying, she would actually be able to put herself back to sleep. So it was really helpful because she had the ability to be like, oh, I'm fine. I can just go back to bed. She wasn't just used to us always having to put her to sleep. Number 5, this is something I really struggled with, but it was so helpful as well. If your baby stirs or whines, let them be. Okay, let them be for a sec. I'm not telling you to just let your baby scream for hours and hours on end with no comfort. I'm saying if they're moving around, maybe making a little few noises, maybe whining a little bit here and there, do not go to their aid. How I started to realize my baby was ready to go longer stretches throughout the night without needing to be fed was that when she would wake up crying and whining and I would pick her up and feed her, she hardly ate anything. All she really wanted was the soothing from my breast. And then I noticed like she doesn't actually need this food. She's just so used to me getting up every night and feeding her routine now. Sometimes she would fall back asleep for another 2 hours or 3. Sometimes she wouldn't. So if she did start to cry and just would not go to bed after 5 minutes, I would get up, give her a little bit, maybe soothe her, put her back down, but don't just run to their side because every single little noise and whine she made, I would just run quickly, pick her up. And she was never going to learn to sleep by herself if I continually did that. And that's how some moms reach like 2 years old and their kid is still getting up to wanting that comfort, is because it's really hard for the mom to just let your kid do their thing and maybe whine or cry a little bit, but it's so essential to get them used to the fact that they don't need you constantly throughout the night. So I still do this, like randomly some nights, very rarely, she'll start to cry and I don't get her. I just let her do her thing and usually within a minute or 2 she goes back to bed and doesn't wake up for the rest of the night. You don't want your baby to start full-blown crying and getting themselves worked up because then they're really not going to want to go back to bed. So obviously soothe them if they're crying for more than a couple of minutes. If you can tell, a mom usually can tell when it's a really like needy, scared, I need you cry. Or when it's just them shuffling around like whining a little bit, you know, so kind of gauge the situation. Number 6, this tip, you can decide whether you want to implement or not because it depends on how you feed your baby. Nurse her first to still get her, you know, at the time I really wanted her to nurse. So I was like, I don't want her to just want the bottle. I want her to nurse first and then fill her up, basically like top her off with the bottle. She would eat but fall asleep and she would not eat enough. It was hard for her to get enough milk. And so, not that I didn't have milk, I definitely had it. I had a hawk on this other side, and this is why I say it depends how you do it. I don't know if you guys use hawkas, I don't know if you want to use a pump or whatever, but I had a hawka while she was eating on the other side to collect some milk, and then with that little amount of breast milk, I would pour it into a bottle, and then after she finished nursing, I would feed her the bottle. And what this did was, it was a lot easier for her to drink from the bottle and get the milk in so that it would fill her up better than she would get when she was nursing. All right, the last thing I'm gonna say is what I kind of mentioned in the beginning, but it's just be patient with yourself, be patient with your child. I remember getting so frustrated and comparing myself to other moms and other babies and being like, why can their baby sleep but mine can't, you know? Just be patient. Just know that your baby will start sleeping through the night when they're ready. If you apply these tips and you're consistent with them, I'm guaranteeing you it will work sooner or later, even if it does take your kid a little longer. Just also know that it takes time for these things to work. Like you not running to pick them up and trying to let them cry it out will probably take a couple of days, if not weeks, for them to kind of get used to it. So don't get discouraged right away and just give up. I just really want every mom and dad to get better sleep with their babies. And truthfully, you need to gauge it off your child. Talk to your pediatrician as well. At 2.5 months, we started this. She started sleeping like 6 to 8 hours around that time, and then now she sleeps, she's 6 months old, but now she sleeps about 9 to 13, it depends, some nights it varies, but 9 to 13 hours sometimes. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.